Hey, today we're going to talk about polynomial equations, ordered pairs, and the Cartesian coordinate system. Polynomial equations. What is a polynomial equation? Simply put, it's an equation made up of, you got it, polynomials. What's a polynomial again? They are expressions that have real number coefficients, variables, and exponents. So each term has the form of ax to the n, where a is a real coefficient, x is any variable, and n is any non-negative integer exponent. Degrees. The degree of a term in a polynomial is the sum of the exponent variables in the term. So x squared is the second degree, 5y cubed is of the third degree, 7ax yz is the fourth degree, because a, x, y, and z in that one all have an exponent of 1. You add 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you get fourth degree. The degree of the polynomial is the highest degree of any of its terms. So in this case, x squared minus 3x plus 4 is the second degree because of that x squared. And x plus xyz plus y squared is the third degree because of that xyz. And also, the degree of a polynomial equation is the same as its highest degree term. Polynomial equations in two variables. Let's talk about this. So this equation, y equals 2x plus 4, has two variables, x and y. Because it has two variables, it has an infinite number of solutions, and we can find a few. To find a few, we'll pick an x, we'll plug that value of the x in, and then evaluate the expression, and then it'll show you what y equals. So when x equals 0, then y equals 2 times 0 plus 4, which is 0 plus 4, or 4. When x equals 3, then y equals 2 times 3 plus 4, which equals 10. When x equals negative 2, then y equals 2 times negative 2 plus 4, which equals 0. So as you can see, you can pick any one you want for x, and then you just evaluate the expression that's there, and you get a y result. Since we assign values to x, we pick random x values, it makes x the independent variable. The value of y depends on that value that we assign for x. So that makes y the dependent variable. Because y is the dependent variable, usually we write equations in this form also, where y equals and then everything else on the other side. So that way, once we plug in a number for x, we can evaluate it, and it's immediately shows the result of what y equals. Ordered pairs. In this case, y equals 2x plus 4. You can see we can write it like we did in the last slide. When x equals 0, then y equals 4. When x equals 3, then y equals 10. When x equals negative 2, then y equals 0. So as a shortcut to those three answers, we can also write them as an ordered pair. Those are pairs of numbers enclosed in parentheses, separated by a comma with the form x comma y. So the x is always first. So as an example, an ordered pair of that first solution would be 0, 4. That means when x is 0, y is 4. And the second solution would be 3, 10. When x is 3, y is 10. And the third solution is negative 2, 0. When x is negative 2, y is 0. It's important to remember that in these cases, x is always first and y is always second. So the first number you write is the x number, and then the second number is the y number. Let's review the coordinate plane. This allows us to graph both x and y together. We've done graphing in algebra before of numbers on the number line, variables on the number line, and it's pretty simple. You know, you write a number line and x is greater than 3. You draw an open circle around 3 and you shade to the right. You know, it's pretty straightforward. When we have two variables here, the x and the y, we actually have two different axes. You have the x's, which are graphed from left to right, and you have the y's, which are graphed from bottom to top. So notice that the number line going left to right is labeled x all the way over on the right, and the number line going bottom to top is labeled y all the way up on the top. Notice also that 0 is in the middle of this coordinate plane. doesn't necessarily have to be. You can write any excerpt of the coordinate plane that you want, because honestly, this coordinate plane goes on infinite for an infinite length in all directions. So we're just picking a small portion of it anyway. You could pick a different small portion. But the numbers get bigger from the x as you go from left to right, just like a normal number line. And then also for y, it gets bigger as you go from bottom to top. Coordinate planes have 4 quadrants. So the first quadrant have both positive x's and y's. So these are where x and y are both greater than 0. Second quadrant has a negative x and a positive y. The third quadrant has a negative x and a negative y. And the fourth quadrant has a positive x and a negative y. Coordinate pairs are ordered pairs that point to specific points on the grid. So, for example, looking at this, to get the point 2,5, you would go you'd go right 2, because remember, the x coordinate is always first in an ordered pair. So you would go 2 to the right and then up 5. For the point -4, 2, you would go left 4, because -4 means to go left 4, and then up 2. For the point -5, 5, you'd go left 5 and down 5. Both are negative. And then for the point 4, -2, you'd go right 4, because the x is positive, and down 2, because the y is negative. Hopefully these make sense. You can look back at the old ordered pairs lessons for more info. Thank you much, and it was good chatting with you. Be sure to look at some of the other videos on here.